It's no secret that, after how disappointing of a season the Lakers had last year, changes needed to be made going into this season. Having known this, the Lakers took this idea to the absolute extreme this summer, and essentially flipped the whole roster upside down, bringing in an almost entirely new group of guys. In years past, teams that entered a season with this amount of roster turnover have typically struggled early on as they figured out how to play alongside each other as well as develop some chemistry, so most people expected the same concept to apply to this year's Lakers team. But so far this year, not only has this not been the case, but they've actually looked like one of the best teams in the whole league on both ends of the floor. Most surprising of all regarding this is that they've been abusing teams on defense, suffocating them in the paint and forcing turnovers. This brings us to the topic of today's video, where we'll be discussing some of the biggest factors that have played into this dominant defense. But before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, with that being said, let's begin. After everything that went down last year, the Lakers made it blatantly obvious that if they're going to turn things around, their focus needs to be on improving the defense. Last season, the Lakers weren't anything special on defense, ranking around the middle of the pack compared to the rest of the league, but this offseason, seemingly every move they made was defensive-minded. Their biggest acquisition, Anthony Davis, along with being one of the most dynamic big men in the NBA, just so happens to also be one of the best shot blockers and rim protectors in the league as well. He's a 3-time member of the All-Defense teams, so right off the bat, that's a pretty good start to building a good defense. The next acquisition the team made was Danny Green, who, surprise surprise, is also another multiple-time member of the NBA's All-Defense team because of how good of a perimeter defender he's proven to be, both in his time on the Spurs and the Raptors. Even the fringe rotation additions the team made were clearly defensive-minded, as they also brought in Avery Bradley. Now, Bradley over the last few seasons may not have been quite as good as he had proven to be in his time spent on the Boston Celtics, as he just hadn't been bringing it on defense nearly as consistently as he used to, but he was still clearly capable of giving opposing guards fits and making life incredibly difficult for them. So this change of scenery on the Lakers was probably the best thing to get his career back on track. With this new culture surrounding the defensive end of the floor building in LA, even LeBron James looks like he's had some new life breathed into him on that end of the floor. Last season, LeBron's defense was pretty lackadaisical to the point where it was becoming a pretty big concern. He's obviously starting to get up there in age, so it wasn't necessarily surprising that his defense wasn't at the level that it used to be, but at times, it looked like he was just genuinely not trying, and the lack of effort on that end is what most people had problems with the most. This year, though, he's been playing his heart out on that end, looking like the player he used to be on the Miami Heat. He's pestering other teams' best players, forcing turnovers, rotating off the ball, and what might be most impressive is that he's been taking a ton of charges. LeBron, at his best, can still be one of the best defenders in the NBA. It just comes down to his effort level, but based on what he's shown so far, he seems to want it more than ever. All of what I've discussed to this point has absolutely played a massive role in the Lakers ranking in the top 2 in defense in the entire league so far, but there's one player in particular that I actually wanted to discuss in more detail in this video, being Dwight Howard. Dwight has been one of the most scrutinized players in the NBA for years, actually dating back to his first stint on the Lakers back in 2013. Before injuries began to hamper his level of play, he was one of the most dominant defensive big men the league had ever seen, while also commanding the paint and scoring well as a #1 option. After the injuries, though, it took him a long time to accept the fact that he wasn't the player he used to be, and his mindset often got in the way of him playing to the best of his abilities. It's been reported countless times from basically every team he's played on in this stretch that he had always become a locker room issue because he refused to change his style of play. He wanted more touches in the post, wanted a bigger role within the offenses, and worst of all, he refused to run pick and rolls consistently. In his mind, he was still the star he was in Orlando, but in reality, he would have worked best as an exceptional role player that sets hard screens, rolls to the basket, and lets those around him set him up for easy shots at the rim. This offseason, after being let go by what was his 6th NBA team he played for, I think something finally clicked in his head. The market for him as a free agent was not that big at all, because by now, the league knew that the risk of bringing him in and ruining the team chemistry could be bigger than his skill set as a player, but the Lakers took a chance on him, and so far, his new mindset is benefiting the Lakers tremendously. This year on the Lakers as a bench player, he hasn't forced anything on offense, letting any shots he gets come to him naturally through the flow of the offense. But most importantly is that he's focused solely on getting back and playing dominant defense. In just 22 minutes played per game on average, he's averaging over 2 blocks per game, and his defensive rating of 94.5 is what's most impressive of all. The Lakers as a team, as I said earlier, are ranked 2nd in the NBA in defensive rating with a score of 97.9, so the fact that when Howard steps on the floor, the team gets 3 points better on defense is incredibly impressive. A selfless Dwight Howard that knows his role and sticks to it is absolutely a valuable player in the NBA. The reason that so many people had issues with him in the past is that he never accepted this for himself. Had he made this change in his game earlier in his career, he wouldn't have had nearly as bad of a reputation as he's built for himself over the years, and if anything, he'd still be seen positively by the majority of the NBA fanbase. With the size and strength the Lakers play within their lineups, having LeBron at the 3 alongside a twin tower setup of Anthony Davis at the 4 and either Howard or JaVale McGee at the 5, most teams can't match that size. Maybe only the Philadelphia 76ers can with Ben Simmons, Al Horford, and Joel Embiid, but the size advantage on most nights goes to the Lakers. Barring any health-related setbacks, the Lakers should continue to be one of the top defenses in the NBA, and if they are, then they're going to be a tough team to stop in LeBron's quest for a 4th ring. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below your thoughts on the Lakers' defensive success. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.